Are you ready for this? Guilt-free strawberry cheesecake ice cream made with cottage cheese. And it's ready in less than 2 hours without the need of an ice cream maker. I'm going to show you how I elevate this creamy and delicious ice cream using homemade gluten-free graham cracker crust bits. And there's not a gram of white processed sugar in sight. It's all naturally sweetened with honey, maple syrup, and fresh strawberries. And if you're like me, you might be wondering, well, is it healthier than traditional ice cream? Well, at the end of this video, I will answer this very important question. But consider yourself warned because the results might be shocking. We'll begin by making the gluten-free graham cracker crust bits. And I'm going to use my chopper that comes with my immersion blender. And we'll begin with 3/4 cups of oat flour and 1/4 of a cup of tapioca flour. And for natural sweetness, we'll add 2 tablespoons of maple syrup and 1 tablespoon of oil. And for added flavor, we're going to add 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. And I just use the lid, it's a little quicker. And a very important flavor is molasses. We're going to add 1 tablespoon to give it that classic graham cracker flavor. Next, I'm adding 1/2 teaspoon of cinnamon and 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Then I'm just going to place my lid on top and set it to a low speed and just mix that together for a few seconds. There we go, perfect. So now we have this very fragrant and fun little graham cracker dough. To form our graham cracker bits, we're going to take a piece of parchment paper and then I'm just going to pull the dough out of the container by hand. And then I find it works best, once this is out, to divide the dough into 2 balls. And then I'm just going to give it a quick little roll in between my hands just to smooth it out. And then just simply place it down on the parchment paper and using the palm of your hand, just start spreading it out and thinning it out. You want it to be about a quarter inch thick. And it doesn't have to be neat and pretty because we're going to be slicing them into little tiny pieces. It's a very fun little dough, #satisfying. And now that our dough is spread out, we're going to take a knife and make our little score lines that will divide this into our little bits. And so just starting at the end closest to me, I'll just simply go across the dough and about every 3/8 of an inch, just press down with my knife to make a little score line. And as the little bits bake, they will become nice and crispy, and then it will be very easy to divide these little bits along the score lines. So you can make them as small as you'd like or a little bit bigger. I find that about 1/4 to 3/8 inch square works really well for a nice bite. And then now we'll simply slide this onto our baking sheet, and then we'll bake this in a 350-degree oven for about 10 to 12 minutes or until it's lightly browned. Well, here are our cute little bits after they have been baked. And as you can see, it's now one giant graham cracker piece, but now we can easily break it off into our little squares. And so I'm going to go through and just break apart one of these rounds into our little graham cracker bites. And I can smell the molasses and the oats and that little bit of cinnamon. That is delicious. And tasty. Your kids would love to help you with this step. There we go. So now they're all divided. So this is actually a double batch. So I'm going to set aside this other graham cracker. And then to make assembly easier, I'm going to go ahead and transfer all these little bits to a bowl. Now it's time to make our cottage cheese ice cream, and I'm going to use my NutriBullet. Now you could also use a big juice blender, you could also use a stick blender, but I have found that this is definitely the quickest way to blend your ice cream. So we're going to begin by adding 1.5 cups of cottage cheese to our cup. And it doesn't matter if it's small curd or large curd, it's totally up to you or what's on sale. As our natural sweetener, we're going to add 1/3 cup of honey. And then to enhance the cheesecake flavor, I'm adding 3 tablespoons of cream cheese, as well as 1 teaspoon of lemon juice and 1 teaspoon of vanilla. So now we're going to simply screw on our lid, make sure it's on nice and firm. And we're going to press it onto our NutriBullet and twist. You can see how quickly we now have this delicious and creamy cottage cheese ice cream. Look at that. Oh, that smells amazing. That's such a yummy texture. Now we'll take a shallow dish, and it could be plastic or glass or whatever you have around. And to have it a little more on the shallow side is beneficial because then the ice cream won't be as thick. That means it freezes faster, which means you get to eat it faster. So I'm going to take a spatula, and I'm only going to pour in about 2/3 of our mixture. All right, that's about 2/3, and then we'll just spread that around. And then now we're going to add our strawberries. And first I'm going to set out several because we're going to chop those up in a minute, but we're going to add about 2 cups of fresh strawberries to our cup. And we will screw our lid back on. And then we'll simply screw that back onto our base. Now we have this beautiful pink colored cream cheese ice cream that has been flavored with fresh strawberries. If I can get it open. Because I screwed it on a little bit too tight. There we go. Wow, that smells good. And now we're going to simply pour this over the top of our previous layer. And then now we want to quickly prep some strawberries that we can chop up to sprinkle on top. So I'm just going to take about 3 here, just cut off the stems. And we'll simply cut these down into nice small little pieces. And you don't have to have any master chef chopping techniques, obviously. Well, those look great. So now we can add our mix-ins to our ice cream. And so we'll begin by sprinkling in our little gluten-free graham cracker crust bits. And again, there's really no technique to this. We just want to have them evenly distributed throughout our ice cream. And again, we wanted those a little bit crispy so that they will soften as they soak up some of the ice cream. Oh, those are so cute. Scoring them into these little squares is much better than just breaking them up because then you just have lots of crumbs. But this way you get nice little bitefuls of that crust. That looks great. And now we can sprinkle on our fresh strawberries. Just want to make this ice cream nice and chunky and full of flavor. And so now we want to kind of mix together all these elements so that we get all those flavors through every bite of the ice cream. So I'm just going to take my spatula, just kind of go along and just kind of like going to flip it upside down. So we get some of that white ice cream on top, the white layer, and then we get some of our chunky mix-ins that will sink to the bottom. It's time for everyone to go for a deep dive. We get that really pretty marbling of the white ice cream with the strawberry ice cream. Now it's going to look so pretty in our bowl when we serve it. Well, that looks absolutely beautiful, and this is ready to go into the freezer for about 2 hours or until it's set. Well, here's a batch I made earlier in a slightly different shallow dish, and I am so excited to dig in. So I'm going to take my ice cream scoop. We'll start on one side, and I left it out on the counter for a little while for it to soften. Oh my goodness, look at that gorgeous, gorgeous ice cream. Put that into a cup here. Wow, that looks so beautiful. But more important than how it looks, of course, is how it tastes. So let's make sure we get a bite that's got some of that graham cracker crust and some fresh strawberry, a little bit of the white cream as well as the strawberry cream. Wow, that is incredible. That just tastes so fresh and creamy. It has a little bit of sweetness from the honey and the strawberries, and I can taste the cream cheese and a little bit of the lemon that just really gives it life. And then I can taste those little bits of the graham crackers, which makes my mind think I'm actually eating cheesecake. Now, I don't say this very often, but this has definitely earned a place on my top 10 list of desserts of all time. I would be proud and excited to serve this to any guests or take to any party, or just keep in my freezer for when I want to enjoy it. And now to answer the very important question of whether or not it's healthier than traditional ice cream. So I have a container of a very well-known ice cream. I'm going to go ahead and scoop out about half a cup, which is their serving size. And honestly, how often do we only eat half a cup of ice cream? But I'm not going to judge. There we go. Now prepare yourself, because this traditional ice cream has 64 grams of added sugar. And as a visual, that is equal to about 16 sugar cubes. Now that does not include the natural sugars from the strawberries. Now in our recipe that was naturally sweetened with honey, there are approximately 18 grams of sugar, which is equal to about 4.5 grams of sugar. And I painted these brown just to represent the fact that it is a natural sweetener in the honey. So is our recipe the healthier option? Yes. Is it going to taste as sweet as a traditional ice cream? No. It's naturally sweetened, which means it's going to have a lower value on the glycemic index. It's also higher in protein as well as calcium, and you get to make it at home, which means you have control over all of your ingredients. Now this is a treat, so you'll want to eat it in moderation, but at least you know you're eating something that is nutrient dense and is going to be gentle on digestion. Now I also would like to point out that the same recipe works for blueberries as well. Instead of 2 cups of fresh strawberries, you would only add about a cup of fresh blueberries to your ice cream mixture. And the result is equally gorgeous and delicious. And it's chunky and beautiful with the marbling of the white creamy ice cream as well as the blueberry mixture. And I guess I'll have to sample it to make sure that it's just as tasty. It is. Big giant thumbs up. Thank you so much for hanging out with me in my kitchen today. And if you'd like to see the recipe card for this video, please visit my website, which is gentletummy.com. And I also invite you to like and subscribe to my channel. And if you know someone who you think would love to have a delicious ice cream that's got far less sugar and high nutritional value, please share this video with them. And I cannot wait to see you again in my kitchen next time. I'm not sure which one I like better. I guess that means I get to have both, right? See you later.